So a scarcity mindset is small. It is small and it is hyper-focused on me, me, me. What can I get? What's my cut? What can I take, right? Who's thinking about me? It is so small. And when we start to expand into a more abundant mindset, we open up that little telescope of just worried about me, and we start to bring in more of the picture. We start to allow others to come into the picture, and we think about, how does this impact other people? How can I positively impact other people by helping, by being generous, right? And it's just this expansion of our lens. Hi, friends. Welcome back. This week, we're talking about the secret power of an abundant mindset. Now, this is something maybe you've heard of before, this abundant mindset versus a scarcity mindset. But it's really not something that we spend a lot of time thinking about. And when I reflect back on, aspects of my self-development that have really had a big impact on areas of success and growth, I can really look at the switch from a scarcity mindset to this abundant mindset as being like a small hinge that opens a big door, right? And so this is something that I thought was worth talking about with you today, just to get your wheels spinning on thinking about your own outlook, right? Because having an abundant mindset versus a scarcity mindset, it's really almost like, what glasses do I have on? What lenses am I looking through to take in the world? And when it's scarcity, which so many of us are brought up and raised to have this scarcity mindset, the lenses through which we view the world and others are really, if you have something, then it takes something away from me. And this idea that there's not enough to go around. And so if you think about that, if that is how you're viewing the world, that there is not enough to go around, that is going to impact the way that you interact with everyone and really in your ability to feel positive or this kind of overwhelming feeling of negativity about your circumstance and, the possibilities that you have in your life. So an abundant mindset says there's enough wealth, happiness, and success in the world for everyone, right? And so it's this idea that if someone has a win or has a success, I can feel happy and excited for them because it doesn't take anything away from me, right? Because if there's enough for me and there's enough for you, then there's nothing that we need to really fight over, right? And I don't have to feel threatened if I see you gaining, because I know it doesn't mean that I'm losing. Now, we understand these concepts, but when it actually comes to how we live our life, this is where it really takes a high level of self-awareness to be able to really tune into, how do I see the world? And it's much easier to notice others in our life, right? It's much easier to notice like, oh, this guy is very scarcity minded, right? And when we all know people like this, where they really kind of come across as being kind of greedy, or if they're not outright greedy, they're at least not generous. Like you definitely know, like this person's not going to pitch in, or this person is always going to be concerned with what's in it for them. And this makes me think of something that Gay Hendricks wrote in one of his books. And if you haven't read anything by Gay Hendricks, he has written some incredible books, The Big Leap being one of them. But he has this part of one of his books I read years ago where he says, every morning, everyone in the world wakes up and they put on one of two shirts. And one of them says, what can I get? And the other shirt says, how can I help? And that made such a big impact on me. And this is back when I was really making my shift from being more scarcity minded and more concerned with myself and my interests, and shifting over to being this more abundant-minded and having the ability to be generous with others, knowing that it's all going to come back around. And so this idea, when I wake up in the morning, what shirt am I putting on, right? Is it what can I get? And like I said, it's easier to notice when another person in our life has that shirt on because it comes through in so many of our interactions with them, right? This person with like, what am I going to get attitude versus how can I help? And so this is just a great visual and something to think about. And if you're someone who does meditation in the mornings or has a gratitude journal, which having a gratitude journal is such a great way to start making that shift from being scarcity-minded to being abundant-minded. Because when we're thinking of all of the things we have in our life to be thankful for and all of the reasons to feel gratitude, it's really difficult to then, approach your day with this scarcity, greedy mindset when you've just meditated and focused on, wow, there's so much abundance in my life. Because when we start to look for the abundance, it's impossible not to see it. And so that's a great practice to start getting into. Like we wake up in the morning, it's like, okay, I'm putting on my how can I help shirt, and I'm going to spend 5 minutes just noticing the abundance in my life. So another way to really pay attention to, am I abundant-minded or am I scarcity-minded, is to check out how you act versus how you would want others to act and treat you, right? So if we're treating someone a certain way, flip the script on yourself and be like, how would I feel if someone treated me that way, right? And this is another thing that really opened up my eyes to being able to be more generous. Because if we're putting ourselves in the other person's shoes, it's like, well, how would I want them to treat me in this situation? And if we always lean in to the more generous, more abundant response, then it's going to force us to really expand into this abundant mindset. So a scarcity mindset is small, right? It is small and it is hyper-focused on me, me, me. What can I get? What's my cut? What can I take, right? Who's thinking about me? It is so small. And when we start to, expand into a more abundant mindset, we open up that little telescope of just worried about me, and we start to bring in more of the picture. We start to allow others to come into the picture, and we think about, how does this impact other people? How can I positively impact other people by helping, by being generous, right? And it's just this expansion of our lens. We're taking it off of just worrying about me. It's all I can think about. It's all I can see. Those with the scarcity mindset, it's just about themselves. And we're opening it up to let in everybody else and to see more of the bigger picture. And I like this way of looking at it because it helps us notice. It's like, am I scarcity minded? Well, are you just thinking about yourself? Or have you expanded the viewfinder and now you're actually thinking about how what you're doing is impacting other people? Another way of looking at this scarcity mindset versus abundant mindset is through the lens of, positivity versus negativity. Because when we think about it, if we're hyper-focused on this idea that there's not enough for everybody, so I got to worry about number one, I got to worry about myself, this is a very negative approach and a negative way of looking at the world, right? This idea that there's just not enough to go around. And also, really this idea that if I don't take for myself, I'm not going to have what I need. Versus the other side of the coin is this idea that a very positive view that there's plenty to go around and I can focus on what's good for you because I know fundamentally that the universe and that others are going to do the same for me. And it's almost this concept of karma. And I do truly believe in karma, in how like what we put out, and even if you just think on an energy level, what I put out, if I'm putting out a positive expectation that there's enough to go around, and I'm putting out generosity because this person needs XYZ and I can provide that, and I'm worried about, I'm concerned for them, with this fundamental belief that because I'm putting that out, it's all going to come back, right? And it's a belief, not an expectation. And there's a big difference in that. Not doing it to get something, but doing it knowing that that is the way the universe balances itself out. Knowing that if I am putting out this generosity and I am viewing the world with such abundance, I will always have enough. And it's this way, again, it's these lenses that we put on and how we decide to experience the world. And it's such a more positive take on life and on the world when we're able to look at it through these lenses of, there's enough to go around. So as you can imagine, having an abundant mindset and having this more positive view on the world, on your life, really has an impact on our mental and emotional health. And I think that that's really the takeaway here of one of the big benefits to adopting this abundant mindset is that we feel better, right? Our mental, emotional health is improved. And again, it goes back to expansion. And this is something I'm being trained in somatic experiencing, and this is something that we look for expansion in the body, in the nervous system, because that means that we're going into this ventral vagal state of relax and connect with others. This is where happiness is. This is where we want to be. This is where we have this, feelings of happiness and health and connection with others. And so expansion is really part of integration and health. And so something as simple as, being scarcity minded or viewing the world with this abundant mindset on a cellular level, this is getting us to a place of expansion. And whenever we can expand, we are going towards health. Versus when we are contracting and closing and getting smaller. Again, when that lens is closing in and all you see is yourself and your interests, you're contracting, we're going away from health. And so this is just another way that we can really line up our mental, emotional, physical health with this expansion and this knowledge that, we can see the world through a lens of abundance and seeing the good in others, knowing that it's not always going to work out perfectly for us. But if we continue to show up wearing that shirt that says, how can I help? We will ultimately be given far more than we ever need and than we can ever dream of, especially versus if we show up every day with that shirt that says, what can I get? We're going to get less and less and less. So I hope this has made some sense to you and has got you thinking about your worldview and really what shirt you have on and how you want to approach the world today. And again, if it's something that you really resonate with and you think, man, I need to work on this. I need to really shift over from being more selfish and scarcity minded and greedy to, being more open and abundant and positive. One of the best ways to do this is to insert it into your morning practice. And so to really just visualize putting on that shirt that says, how can I help? And in doing your gratitude practice of making it a habit to notice the abundance in your life, right? Just to notice it because it's there. And it's only when we are so hyper-focused on ourselves that we're not able to see the abundance. So I hope this has been helpful. If you like it, please like, subscribe, Share this with a friend if there's someone who needs this message of, hey, let's be abundant-minded today. And I will be back next week with another message.